Okay, and welcome to part 2 of the review, and we are going to be taking a quick look at the synopsis of part 2, that is Evolution, the Golden Digimentals, or Golden Digi-Eggs, for the dub fans and viewers here. So, quickly up, I'll just read the synopsis, and then like before, I'll give some changes of some of the footage dub changes within this second part, within the dub. So, it opens up with Yoli and Cody at Summer Memory. I forgot to mention this in the first part. Summer Memory is where Wallace lived when he was 7 years ago, when he was younger, and where all this incident happened. And it just pretty much left off. Pretty much, we see Cody noticing Davis and Wallace riding on Raidramon, and then Davis just mentions how rural it is. But after they finally reaching the main flower field where they used to play, Indigogomon then suddenly attacks them, and then after they defeat Indigogomon, he evolves into Antilemon, who was pretty much an agile Digimon, was able to defeat them, and it took the combined efforts of Flamedramon, Hulsemon, Digmon, and Gargomon to defeat Antilemon, until Antilemon then digivolves into Kurapimon, who literally juggled them once he reverted them back into their rookie forms, and he just played juggle with them before he was planning to then devour them. But then Angie Woman and Angemon showed up. That means TK and Kari then shows up, and they then digivolved into their mega forms, and then released the Golden Digimentals to allow Terrymon and Vmon to digivolve into Rapidmon and Magnamon. And in this film, Magnadramon is Gotomon's mega form, or ultimate form in the Japanese dub, and Seraphirimon is the Digivolve Mega Ultimate, depending on which version you go by, form, or Mega form for Angemon. So they end up then getting swallowed up, and they then defeat the Indigomon that was inside. That woke up after hearing Yoli mentioned to Poromon that he needs time to rest and heal, and defeats him. But this second half was there was a lot more violent scenes. There was a lot more emotion here. There was a song playing of very, very intact emotional scenes, because all the chosen children were reversed back to kids, back to their toddler age, and it was a lot more violent. We saw Gotomon just getting flinged about just by a smack by Kurapimon's hand, and a lot of them were damaged, a lot of them were hurt, a lot of violently done as well. There's a lot of violence in the second half that was cut within the dub for that reason. It was a lot violent. But Magnamon and Rapidmon defeats Kurapimon, and he changes back to good Digimon, the good version of Kurapimon. And yes, and then after that, everybody then went their separate ways. Davis, Kairi, and everybody headed back to Japan. Wallace decides to keep on going on an adventure, and he finds Chocmomon's egg that then, as the credits roll, then becomes Lopmon at the end, and we see Lopmon. And the changes there, they decided to take a scene that was during the fights in the original version and made it look like a dancing scene, and made it look like Chocmon digivolves back into Indigomon at the end instead of Lopmon. But in the Japanese, we see a still photo of Wallace, Terrymon, and Lopmon. So it's a bit controversial how it works all this at the same time. But other than that, this was slightly. I did like the fact that it was a little bit darker. It was a darker film. The second half literally did make it a bit darker, a little bit more mysterious, and it was a little bit more, like I said, dark. And it was really fun to watch at the same time. It was really fun when I wanted to see which version I do compare. I do prefer the unedited version of the film. It really was slightly better, but because there were some cringe-worthy moments in the dub. Now, after I rewatched the dub several times, the film, there are me noticing all the little bits taken out, all the little sections taken out of the film that would have made it better. It's a little bit more, it cringes, it's a cringe-worthy, and it makes you wonder. The thing that I hated most is how they decided to change Wallace's names to Willis, when they just changed his name from Wallace to Willis, what made no sense at all. Because Wallace was a perfectly alright English name, he was speaking perfectly American, and plus the fact that he learned Japanese via him having a Japanese girlfriend made a little bit more sense and everything. But changes in the second half is pretty much when Davis breaks down in tears. In the English dub, it was shortened and made the moment into a joke, but in fact it was originally, Davis was generally crying and over the idea of having to fight his own partner. Wallace explained that he must fight Chocmon or Indigomon, depending on, yeah, I'll go Chocmon because that's what he said. But in both dub and sub, Wallace mentioned how Davis got over the crying fast. Wallace's mum is very dominant in the original. She was originally the one that found the egg, because just like Tai and Kari found the first Agumon or Koromon egg, Digi-Egg in Digimon Adventure movie, the movie on the TV series, from coming out of their dad's computer. The same happened for Lopmon and Terriermon coming out from one egg from his mother's computer. And like I mentioned before, after Wallace finds the Digi-Egg at the end of the film, the only signs it hatched is still from the ending credits. Wallace, Terriermon and Lopmon. In the dub version, instead has the Digi-Egg hatch into Indigomon, with only reference of Lopmon, instead of being in the movie poster and the promotional cards released for the film. So yeah, so that's pretty much all the footage changes that I think are worthy to note. But overall, this is the trilogy of the first three trilogy of the film, because I wanted to get to these three films out of the way, because I will be going over the other Digimon films still, but this has been the Digimon the Movie trilogy, and I say Digimon the Movie trilogy as in this is the first segment done of the Digimon movies, as these were the first three films that made Digimon the Movie, and I'll be going on to the fourth film, that is the second film in the English dub, that is The Revenge of Diaboromon or Diablomon, next week. But this was really heavily done, and I had to do how I done it, so it's a little bit more in depth, I think it was, and a little bit more interesting as well. But overall, this film has been interesting. It was not my favourite. My favourite film has yet to come. I think my favourite one will always be X Evolution. There's a reason why I love that film. But other than that this is not really my favourite. There's a lot of problems with this film, and these problems are to do mainly of how uncanon it feels and how a little bit messed up it was, but it makes more sense as a standalone film. To me, anyway, it makes more sense as a standalone film than try to splice two films together and try to create a new plot out of two different films into it from the dub. A little bit of editing, because I forgot to mention some stuff in both parts. I'm throwing it in here in the second part of my Hurricane Touchdown and Super Evolution, the Golden Digimentals review. First, I want to get off the chest that this has been not the best review out of the three Digimon movies so far. I have noticed while editing it together, and that this has been spliced into near the end, so it fits more into the ending, a little bit more that way. But at the same time, this has not been the best review because of how long I done the synopsis and how much mumbling I done. I tried to do less mumbling in this as possible, and I looked at way too much at the iPad because I didn't memorize most of the stuff, so it's the worst. Yes, I do look at the iPad when it comes to references or doing my synopsises for the chapter reviews. It's because I can look and
then and then before I speak, I'll move away from the iPad to then speak. I didn't really do that this time either. But other than that, I did want to mention beforehand that I did forget to include some information that I did say I would include in the part 1 of this review, and that is about Wallace and how good the English speaking was, and the whole Gummymon thing by calling them Chocomon and Gummymon still throughout the film. I would understand that Wallace, because of him being the only Digidestined probably, or the only chosen child where he lived at the time, and being the only one with the Digimon, so they're his only friends. Because by the looks of things, when he was living at Summer Memory, he probably didn't have really much other friends. He only had Terriermon and Lotmon, or Chocomon and Gummymon at that stage, and he didn't really have any other friends at the time. And when they digivolved, he didn't really know that the names changed along with them and anything. So him calling them Gummymon and Chocomon makes slight more sense by him just keep on calling them there, because it's one name, because he doesn't know that they change again, the name changed or anything and stuff like that. So yeah, at the same time, the animation was great for this film as well, and the English, should I say, was really well. Every film or anime I've watched with English in, where they speak English, but it's really poorly done, but it's still understandable. But yeah, on Crunchyroll and Fansub still sub the English anyway to be much more understandable. This was perfectly good English. And I mean understandable English when subtitles don't really need to be done. It's perfectly read. There was no R's or L's. There wasn't no English where the L's and R's were roll off the tongue. It all sounded like a normal English speaking person. And also, I would apologize that I said American halfway through this review when I meant to say English, but I would apologize now because it's at the end of the review. But other than that, that's really much it of the bits that I wanted to type up on and mention, because that was the last thing I missed in the last part, and this has been the add-on. So sorry for the poor quality yet again. When I miss some stuff out, I just quickly run in webcam and record and edit it in. But other than that, this has been the review, and I'll cut down to the proper ending of this video right now. So I'll see you then. See you at the proper ending.
But other than that, hopefully you enjoyed the first 3 reviews of the Digimon movies that I've done, and stay tuned next week for Digimon Adventure 02 Movie 2, Digimon Adventure Movie 4, Revenge of Diaboromon. See you next time. Bye bye for now.